Hey there. Thank you for joining me, Stanley, for some Fun Friday. And last weekend was the end of the season for English soccer, the English Premier League. And I've said before that I like soccer. And it was a very interesting weekend for sports with all that could go on. The way that soccer in Europe works, you don't have like your season and then playoffs and crown a champion. You have the regular season, and the best team for the regular season is the champion of the league. But then you also have side tournaments, some of which are as important or sometimes considered more important than the actual main season, the league competition that you're in. And the way that you get into those is based on how you place in your league. So the first several teams for England, it's the first four teams automatically qualify for the top tournament called the Champions League. The next couple teams, depending on how things work out, will qualify for a lower tournament called the Europa League. And then every year, you also have to perform well enough to stay in the league. They structure all of soccer throughout England so that you can move up and down into different leagues. And so, in a lot of U.S. sports, there are teams that are so bad that people will talk about how, oh, well, there are college teams better than them, or there are non-professional teams that could play as well as they could. And that just is the way it is. The Detroit Lions went 0-16 one season. The Detroit Lions went 0-16, and they came back and they had to play the next year. In soccer, in most countries, especially in Europe, when a team plays poorly enough, they get knocked out of the league, and that has a lot of consequences for those teams. There are a lot of financial issues that causes. There's no guarantee a team will come back into the league the next year. And so it becomes a really big deal. And all of this was on the line looking at the games last weekend. Manchester United, team that I follow, they were in a position where they could qualify for the Champions League, but there was a chance that they wouldn't. They were playing against a team they had to do as well as or better than. So if the game ended in a tie, Manchester United would qualify. If Manchester United won, they qualified. If Manchester United lost, there was a decent chance that Manchester United would not qualify for the Champions League, which would be seen as a failure for Manchester United. They're the kind of team that should qualify almost every year or every year for the Champions League. And so that was up to play for. And then another really interesting kind of storyline was that which team would remain in the Premier League and which teams would not. It was already known that one team was not going to be able to stay. They had done so poorly. That was decided several weeks ago. But there were three teams that were still possibly going to get kicked out of the league, and only two of them were going to. So one team out of these three could earn the right to stay in the league. One of those teams had fired their manager at least twice already this season, kind of their head coach. And 2 weeks ago, they again fired their manager for seemingly no reason. The kind of thought in a lot of the news cycles is that, well, they weren't going to want him to stay next season, and they thought they'd already done well enough, so they just went ahead and fired him now. Maybe thought that they would get a boost. A lot of times you fire a manager, the team tries to perform a little bit better. So maybe they were thinking that would happen. But it was also seen by most commentators as just a dirty move, and a lot of people thought that if you're going to do that as an owner of a team, then you shouldn't stay in the league. And then the other two teams were both are both seen as upstanding teams. There's one team that's a team that's very small, that's not normally the likes of the teams that are in the English Premier League, but they've done a wonderful job. They signed the right players, developed some players. They have a coach who's seen as really good, and they've kind of fought their way into the Premier League and have stayed there for several years. And then there was another team who was at one time one of the big English teams in soccer. I mean, they were famous throughout the world as a team, but that's been 30, 40 years ago. And so they're kind of trying to regain some of that, but still not there yet. And the games happened. The team everyone wanted to see go down because they kept firing their manager, they were dropped or relegated. And the little team wasn't able to pull it off. So Aston Villa, who used to be a huge name in English soccer, Aston Villa remain in the Premier League. Manchester United and Chelsea are the two teams that qualified for the Champions League. Leicester City, and I would encourage you to look up Leicester City. They are an awesome story. So the Leicester City Foxes are a team to look up. Just the story of how they ended up as a really good team in England. But there was just a lot going on. A lot happened. A lot of goals were scored. A lot of drama. I think I've shared this before. The reason why I like soccer is because it makes you always thinking that something could happen. And Manchester United even proved it. They scored a goal because a goalie was just going to kick the ball away, and normally that doesn't mean much. You've like one attacking player who's adding maybe a little pressure on the defenders and the goalkeeper, and he caused a mistake and scored a goal. And this is the kind of thing, like, you're always wondering what could happen. There could always be something that would happen. Who knows what's going to happen next? That suspense. A lot of sports are either kind of slow. They're very slow with small periods of activity, or it's just nonstop action all the time, like basketball. It's always going on. It's always happening. You have 10, 20 seconds, and then something else is going to happen, and something else is going to happen. In soccer, it's not quite either of those. The game is always going on. For the 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours TV time that the game is on, something is happening. Other than the 10 to 15 minute halftime break, the game is going on. It's not stopping. There aren't breaks in what's actually happening on the field, but it's not, one team goes down and scores, then the other team goes down and scores, then the other team goes down and scores. There's this suspense of like, oh, is something about to happen now? Are they going to do it? Are they going to find the pass? Are they going to find the shot? Are they going to make the interception to run down to the other side of the pitch or the field? I love soccer. Last weekend was an awesome weekend to be a soccer fan, especially if you were a Manchester United fan or a Chelsea fan or an Aston Villa fan. If you were a Leicester City fan, not as enjoyable for sure. If you were a Bournemouth fan, they were the little team that fought to stay up. It wasn't the best weekend. If you were a Watford fan, the team that fired their coach 3 times this season, I don't know how you feel, because you might have very well wanted the team to get knocked down because their ownership is just running riot. And I mean, who does that? But anyway, yeah, that's our Friday fun. Looking back at the end of the English soccer season, there are some of the other competitions that are going to be happening soon, and English soccer doesn't get much of a break this year. So I believe it's end of September, maybe mid to end of September is when the next season's going to start. So it's already coming fast. With soccer, you hear a lot about, like with a lot of sports, you'll hear about trades and free agents moving around. Well, soccer has that, but soccer makes it feel like a bigger deal to me. I don't care nearly as much about the off season for football as I do for soccer, even though I'm arguably a bigger football fan. But yeah, soccer season ended. I was super happy and excited when Manchester United won Champions League soccer. Big deal. Very excited to see them back. I do think that the team is starting to move in the right direction. They've had some very hard years recently. Hard years as far as Manchester United are concerned, which isn't the same as getting kicked out of English soccer. But I'm interested to see what next season has. There are going to be some interesting teams coming in. So they keep 20 teams. So if 3 teams get kicked out of the league, 3 teams come in. So the 3 teams are probably going to be pretty interesting who are coming in. It'll be very interesting to see who stays in the Premier League next year. If Aston Villa make enough headway so that they can not have barely stayed in this year just to go down next season, but to make a long run in the Premier League. Yeah, I really like soccer. It's interesting. It's entertaining. There are stories from week to week, and yeah, I really enjoy it. So thanks for joining me for just a little bit of fun on this Friday. God bless you guys. Take care.